Do you think with this era of AI that the race is faster than it ever has been before?
Absolutely.
How do you adapt?
Well, first of all, we talk about it. Everyone is working exceptionally hard, not because we have some policy like a 996. We don't. We believe that you should hire the right people that are on the mission to redefine what great looks like for a go-to-market platform and empower everyone to move as fast as they possibly can. And in that model, creating that as a culture, we have conversations about this opportunity to move so fast, to change the way people work and the way that they support their customers by automating 80% of the manual, mundane stuff they hate about their job, that we can do this in a way that is disruptive.
Jason, welcome to Tech Scenes Unplugged.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start from the top. Tell me about Aurasell.
Yeah, Aurasell is an AI-native go-to-market platform where we're intelligently automating the entire process from contact to contract, serving our customers in a way that we can help them unleash productivity, take away all the manual tasks of their go-to-market teams, increase predictability, and ultimately deliver efficiencies both of OpEx and CapEx in nature.
Is there when you're looking at the market, like what's your beachhead right now? Like what are you guys like aiming at for your ICP?
Yeah, great question. We have two ICPs. The first ICP, which has been really coming in and reacting well to our initial product, which was our AI native CRM platform, which has a CRM and an AI native architecture with about 15 other capabilities that would typically replace that bolt-on bloat of the legacy CRM systems. That product has gone exceptionally well in the startup ecosystem, AI natives, and SMBs. We're working on a second product also, which will be coming out late December, which will take all of the functionality and capability of our AI native go-to-market platform, all the intelligent automation, will allow it to exist right on top of the existing CRMs that are out there, like HubSpot and Salesforce. That product we're going to refer to as an AI native go-to-market operating system. So two ICPs, startups, AI natives, SMBs, kind of pulling down the full CRM platform, the AI native platform with all the ecosystem, full function platform capabilities in it. And then your larger enterprises that might have a more legacy, more customized architecture of their CRMs, don't want to swap out the CRM, but want to take advantage of intelligent automation and really inject AI into their go-to-market workflows.
That makes a lot of sense because a lot of these CRMs have had years and years of changes and really dialing in exactly what they want. And for them just to switch out their CRM might be a little too much friction, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's, some of it's organizational friction, probably more so than technical friction. I mean, we ship with 200 integrations. So most things that are integrated out there today can be, if it's not replaced through an intelligent automated platform that gets rid of, 15, 16 products in your ecosystem, we can integrate with it where we need to. So I think it's probably less tech, resistance and more human change resistance, I would say, or process friction.
Right. Yeah. Let's say any sort of like software solution is really a process and change management, I think.
It is.
With teams than anything, right? So thinking about go-to-market, like how do you define go-to-market when it comes to like your product?
Well, go-to-market, of course, as you know, includes sales, marketing, and customer success in most cases.
Right.
Our initial platform offering really serves the sales portion of the go-to-market ecosystem exceptionally well. We also attack some of the marketing use cases now and pull them in an automated way with the platform. And the same is true for the CS portion of the product. We serve up a lot of the cross-sell, upsell, account planning kind of capabilities natively to the platform, so you don't need a separate product. Having said that, this winter we're working on releasing post this winter a marketing SKU as well as a COS SKU, so intelligent marketing as well as intelligent success. And those will take the same approach that we have today for our, the depth and breadth of capabilities that we automate out of the box for sales use cases, and the condensing of that ecosystem of both on-bloat products. And we'll take that same exact approach and go innovate with an AI native capability in both marketing and customer success.
Got it. Yeah, I definitely need those other pieces, right? On the go to market, but it makes sense to start on the sales side, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of natural.
We have customers who have purchased us just for the marketing capabilities so far, because the platform comes with 85 million accounts to 850 million contacts, has automated outreach and prospecting capabilities, voice dialing, auto enrichment, deep research. It automates ICPs, the ideal customer profiles, and builds out the territories in a dynamic and automated way, all without the customer having to do anything for it. It's all shipped. It's all there. We have 10,000 agents on the back end that will go out and discover our customers' websites and who they sell to, what they sell, what problems they solve, use cases. And we'll take that information and we will build out in an automated way. We'll build out their ICPs and their buyer and champion personas for them. So that the first time they log into the product, all of it just appears. And for a lot of marketing organizations that hold the bag of trying to deliver, the accounts and ABM and ICPs and persona definitions and support the prospecting and messaging outreach, having that automated and completed for you straight out of the box, along with the deep account research and AI flexibility for custom AI enrichment. A lot of marketing teams actually have come to us independent of the sales and
that makes sense.
And purchased it. And so
Right.
I think that the lines anymore are starting to blur between where some of these functions exist operationally. Are they supported out of the marketing budget in a marketing ops team? Or are they supported in a sales ops team in the sales budget? And at the end of the day, they're all working together. All those functions are driving top line and coverage with pipeline and supporting a modern go-to-market execution. So,
yeah. And a lot of times they were using different systems and the data was disparate, right? Maybe I'm a salesperson and I'm doing an outreach and I'm trying different messaging, and some messaging's working, some isn't. The person next to me that's doing sales is doing totally different messaging, right? I just think that knowing what's working and holistically having a native AI product that can actually capture what's really going on and tear down those walls is really powerful when it comes between sales, marketing, and success.
That's a great point. For years as a go-to-market operator, I've been building teams for 20 years, and it's always been a struggle to get a unified view of the customer journey and the insights and the signals that feed to action along the different points of that customer's journey and their interaction with your marketing and sales teams. And the same is true for post-sales. Once you go through the funnel, the top of the funnel and sales and convert a customer, you want to make sure that you keep that customer, obviously. So
Right.
you need to see all the real-time signals that can lead to early indication of onboarding troubles or risk for renewal. Maybe eliminate or reduce the risk of missing upsell and cross-sell. It's all connected. If you think about it, it's a little bit crazy that from a customer's point of view, they start their interaction with you in search of education. They're seeking a resolution to a problem they have, or you wouldn't be talking about it. Whether your marketing team or sales team reaches them or they come inbound, you have to have that true problem to value alignment in order for that transaction to occur, right? I mean, selling is as old as human collaboration, is the exchange of mutual value. And I think it's still that today. AI changes a lot of the activities that go on in that customer journey, but at the end of the day, it's still a mutual exchange of value. And
Right.
it's kind of crazy to look back and think that for over 2 decades, we've been building up what we thought were systems, only to throw sellers and marketers at 20 plus systems and not have a single view of the truth that occurred from the time that prospect sought out resolution to a problem and they're experiencing in the customer success onboarding journey either a value unlock or friction to that value unlock. And with a platform like ours, like Aurasell, because we automate all of the signal detection, we have a constellation of 10,000 agents that are out there scraping the internet. We ship with 85 million accounts, 850 million contacts. We grab signals and enrich them automatically on all those contacts. And then when you connect up to your enterprise platform, like email systems, we see all that activity as well. And that is true, whether it's before you have contact with somebody on our platform, one of our customers, or you're in a CS onboarding conversation, that is also feeding our conversation intelligence agent. And because that conversation intelligence agent automatically joins the meeting from the very first time you ever have a conversation to a continuous interaction in post sales, you always have a single view of the truth. That's true, by the way, for a phone conversation. I mean, in Aurasell, you can see a contact and reach out, of course, via email, but you also can call them. That call then is transcribed and pushed through our signals engine, merged with everything else that we see going on, and then pushed to an AI logic layer where we drive updates to the CRM, tasks that are automated, research that is automated, follow-up emails that are automated, et cetera, things like this. So just automate not only the updates to the system, but the workflows and workloads around them. And that's based on the direct exchange of information that's occurring with the prospect or customer,
Right.
no matter what phase of that customer lifecycle journey you're in. And so I think having that capability allows, not only makes our customers more productive, but makes them more accurate in their interactions with customers.
Now, backing up, your career prior to this had to been always go to market. Is that correct?
For the most part, I started out in my early career a bit technical. So I was an engineer, I was an architect early in my career. Both.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, as a consultant, and then in post sales, and then on the software side, and then pre sales, and then led a pre and post sales team, and then ended up going from there into sales and then sales leadership. So,
Or what was the moment that you decided, I got to start this company? I mean, what was going through your head? Do you remember specifically when you finally made that decision?
I do. It's kind of a funny story. So I have been asked, so I've been a go-to-market operator for 20 years. We mentioned that earlier. And over the years, as I have been interviewing for, the next job, you talk to board members and VCs, et cetera. And at different times in that journey, I've been asked by VCs, hey, why don't you go start your own thing? And I always have this response where I'd say to them, wow, I enjoy building out a go-to-market machine and taking product market fit global. And I really find myself supporting great product builders. And I always used to end that conversation by saying, I don't wake up at 3 a.m. obsessing over product. And I need to be, married together with somebody who is. And then long story short, one day I did wake up at about 3:20 in the morning, obsessing over solving this problem, and started just documenting all of the tech stack that I have built at different companies. And really, actually, I literally woke up at like 3:20 in the morning, opened up my phone, was in a hotel, grabbed my phone, opened a Google Keep file, and just started documenting, the activities, all the sales activities, marketing activities, CS activities, and in this Google Keep file, inserted a table, and next to each of the activities, so I put a functional role down the activities. The third column was tools that supported those activities. And I was kind of blown away. If you look at it from my last company at Harness, I was running 22 products in my go-to-market stack to support sales, marketing, and CS. And this is a pre-agentic era. Now, if you were to take that same 22 product stack today, you probably would be layering on niche-based agents for it. And so that sprawl is only going to grow much faster. And so I had, after operating as a CRO at Harness, I moved on and started to go into venture. I thought I was going to spend the next 15 years of my life in venture. That had been something I had been wanting to do for a long time. And I did a 6-month stint. I jumped in with Next 47 as a venture partner on the AI team, and found about 3 weeks in that I just didn't enjoy it the way I thought that I would. I really missed the pace of operating and building teams and taking product to market. And so I knew at that point that I was going to operate again. I hadn't decided to start a company yet. From there, I was on a 6-month contract to try it out and see how it went. And so I stuck the 6 months out. And after that is where I started to get pattern recognition in meetings with founders and research in the industry and seeing what's going on. And I just felt like that a lot of the things being offered at the time that were niche products. They were what I would refer to as sort of, prompting with UI wrapped around it. It's very narrowly focused, not a big product moat, solving small aspects with what really could probably be replicated with prompting if you had any prompt engineering skills at the time. And I just didn't, we didn't do any of those investments. I didn't feel like that was the right direction for the industry. And I gained a little bit of frustration for the fact that was what AI and go-to-market was being referred to at the time. And then we fast forward to this, 3:20 middle of the night, wake up, obsessing over it, document the problem, document the activities, document, what is available in the market today. And then I tallied the cost up. And then I tallied the market cap of those companies up, the revenue of those companies up, and just thought this is such a big opportunity for someone to go solve it the right way.
Right.
And I think, my co-founder and CTO, Srinivas Bandi, worked with me at Harness for 5 years. He has joined as the CTO and founded the company with me. And as we worked through that problem statement, we felt that it was necessary to build an AI-native architecture through first principles approach and really focus on how do you, in an AI-native era, how would you drive these workloads differently through automated AI insights and automated automation. And that's the funding, the founding principle of how we built the platform really is in that last part of that statement.
Yeah. It's interesting. With Collective Genius myself, for years, I was really just honing in the methodology, right? Trying to figure out how to get teams working better, have the focal points of your mission, your 3-year, your 1-year, OKRs, metrics, KPIs. It's the same thing for every company. It really is the same thing for every company. It's just different amounts of zeros behind that as far as revenues or employees, right? We all want alignment. We all want focus. We all need accountability. We all need to be rowing in the same direction. It's all the things that we all know, but it's so complicated and difficult, right? And it's funny because you use the word signal a lot. I think about this kind of like a signal is that 3:20 a.m. moment for you is you were capturing the signal. You know what I mean? To the point where you couldn't sleep. You had to start writing it down. And I feel like that's a lot of us founders are the same way. I working with hundreds of teams, I started, pulling the signal of what works, what doesn't work. When we started building our product, it was the same thing. I had already been crafting it in my head, and finally I just had to get it on paper. And then I had to get it, we started using some prompt engineering to build it, and it just keeps on building upon itself. But I think there is some sort of I always call being a founder, especially a CEO founder, probably any founder is like, it's more of a calling, right? Like it's something like you almost feel like you don't actually have the choice to do this or not. It comes to you and it's like, you are going to do this now. And you're like, what? I never thought was going to build a product or, you know what I mean? Is that kind of similar to kind of what happened to you? Like almost felt like it was out of your hands?
I would agree with that statement. It felt like the problem was so obvious and the solutions that were being built were so small and
Right.
so narrow. And I
Yeah.
felt almost a sense of obligation. You know, AI provides the most powerful platform shift humanity's ever seen in technology. To take the power of such a transformational platform shift and bundle it up in these little wrapper packages and sort of just I felt like wasn't doing the personas and the problem justice. Right. And that's that sense, this deep understanding of the problem, having experienced it multiple times over, and this passion to just build something that could be defined as like redefine what great looks like for a go-to-market platform. That's what drove us to build Aurasell. Didn't wake up one day and say, I want to start a company. That was the byproduct of solving the problem.
Right. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I do feel the days of a very scalpel, deep, sharp approach to building software is gone. I think it's, you have to have a more wide, encompassing approach to what you're launching. Maybe there are markets where you can go very deep and very, very narrow, but I think everything's tied together. And I think AI really ties everything together. So it's you're kind of missing the boat if you're not doing that. Now, there's a lot of companies out there that are saying they're AI native. I've talked about this in the past. They're not. They're really bolting on AI to like a legacy product. And I think that's very different. And the functionality and what you're going to get out of that's very different.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, look, there's a few first principles that you have to recognize here. If you're going to be AI native, you have to have a born on date that's post 2022. It would be impossible to call yourself AI native if you started a company prior to that, and when enterprise availability of enterprise APIs were available on top of LLMs. That's really where the born on date has to align. If you're going to be AI native, the company would have been born and the architecture would have been built post that era.
Right.
And the architecture would have been built in a way, at Harness, we looked at all of the problems that we had at Harness that I was talking about earlier. And, you get there by stacking products on top of each other and with the best intentions. You want to solve something for the teams in a particular use case or a particular segment of the sales process. And there's a niche product that does that thing well, that widget that does something well, until you turn around, you end up with 20, 22 products like I did. Right. And that approach has just turned the CROs into CIOs, managing with their ops teams, managing these big infrastructures and taking, agents, small purpose-built agents that are just kind of bolted on top of those legacy products is making that sprawl 10 times worse. I mean, it's making it worse at a 10 times greater pace. Let's say it that way. And to the point where I think in the future, the same way that you had workflows colliding across legacy architectures in the past, you'll have now agent-driven workflows automating on top of each other, colliding, because they're coming from different providers, right? Different individual products that are bolted onto a legacy CRM in go-to-market. And the bigger issue is, I think you need to have a unified data model if you're going to be AI native. So you have to be born on post 2022. You have to have a unified data model, because the unified data model is not just a CRM database that you that 20 products are pumping field updates into. A unified data model is required to have full contextual awareness. And that contextual awareness of the interactions that are taking place in the platform lives in metadata. So when you have a tool sprawl architecture, every tool you add to it brings a new data source. And every new data source traps the contextual metadata about that function in its swim lane, in its own little product area. And as you know, when you want to automate using AI, the best way to make sure that that automation is accurate is to give it full context on clean data.
Right.
So having a unified data model is really important as part of an AI native architecture. And the final thing is we believe it should be fully functioned. To your point about wide versus narrow products, innovation velocity has changed in an AI native era. Yesterday's platforms are today's products. Yesterday's products are today's features. And so when someone asks, like, how did you guys build, how did you build a product or a platform that replaces 15 products in 14 months? I would say a lot of it is, of course, you build great teams. But when you're building in an AI native architecture, you're using AI to build an AI product, you move faster. Every engineer is using AI coding products, right? Every PM in our company uses AI. In fact, our PMs build AI agents, no code agents that make it into our product. If you can move faster and you have more people creating, velocity around innovation, you can leverage AI, not just in the way you deliver it for your customers, but in the way that you build the platform.
Right.
And building in an AI native era also brings a lot of advantages where we're not weighed down by being forced to integrate into dozens of old architectures from 25 years ago. Everything that we've done, is an AI native architecture with a unified model. We're sitting with an AI logic orchestrator across 5 LLMs, dynamically placing based on quality the payloads that come out of all those interactions that we natively see, because we have 10,000 agents out there doing work to automate all of this so it's easier for our customers. And all of that automation is sitting on top of an architecture that's modern, a lake house, and that is backed up by RAG and vector database models. And it's just a much easier architecture to move fast with. And that ability to attack with that innovation velocity is how you can deliver a fully functioned platform that has AI native capabilities and automation built in every single interaction of the platform. AI really isn't something to be bolted on top of something. It should be woven into every interaction with the software and really automating even before you ask it to do something.
Right. Do you think with this era of AI that the race is faster than it ever has been before?
Absolutely. There's no doubt.
How do you adapt how your teams work?
Well, first of all, we talk about it. We have that conversation internally. And so Everyone is working exceptionally hard, not because we have some policy like a 996. We don't believe in that. We believe that you should hire the right people that are on the mission to redefine what great looks like for a go-to-market platform and build out of those first thinking principles that we talked about earlier and empower everyone to move as fast as they possibly can. And in that model, creating that as a culture, we have conversations about this opportunity to move so fast and leverage one of the most disruptive platform shifts in the world that change the way people work and the way that they support their customers, and that we can make their lives better, by automating 80% of the manual mundane stuff they hate about their job away from them. That we can do this in a way that candidly is disruptive. We can deliver a platform capability as an MVP that knocks out 15 other products. I mean, that's a disruptive play, and that's exciting, And I think that the way we look at it is we're very well aware of it, and we 100% believe that this is going to be done, and we can be the ones to do it, or somebody else will figure it out. And that urgency just finds its way into the fabric of the company, and we constantly have conversations about it. And we say we don't obsess over our competition, we obsess over customers. But that doesn't mean you're not aware of the market, and you certainly feel it.
Do you think there's going to be fewer winners, fewer companies that win, and less competition in the future? Or, I mean, I think this is a unique wave right now of many companies trying to do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's a faster land grab and a wider land grab than ever before. Like, what's going to happen when all that settles?
If I had a crystal ball, I might be building a different product. But I don't know that any of us can really see the future here. But it doesn't take a lot of foresight to see that legacy software providers are under attack with AI native platforms that are purpose built, like we're building for go to market at Aurasell. And I think that's true across every workflow that you could imagine in SaaS right now. And it's also obvious that the big LLMs are in the midst of a move to build an OS layer, an agentic OS layer on top of the LLMs. And I think those two movements coming together are certainly squeezing legacy SaaS software providers, and will likely change the tech market, right? I suspect there'll be we've already started to see a lot of acquisitions. There's a lot of funding. Where there's funding activity, there's also acquisition activity following behind it, and it's healthy for the ecosystem. And we'll see where it lands.
I keep on going back and asking myself, what are these large players going to do? I mean, like their born on date was well before this native AI race, but I think you probably just said what's going to happen. Those are going to probably be the companies that will need to acquire the new companies coming up, which has happened time and time again in the past as well, right? Maybe it's no different now, but I mean, in order for them to compete, they may have to continue to do some acquisitions, or they're going to have to start their own new products and potentially, compete with themselves.
Well, they'll do both. I mean, I would imagine they're already. I mean, there's already evidence of both of those strategies being carried out.
Right.
But when you're building on top of, let's say, 25 years worth of legacy architecture that also grew through lots and lots and lots of acquisitions, these bigger companies are going to have to deal. They're going to have to finally deal with that debt. To just acquire more AI native companies and try to stick them into that architecture, I don't know that you'll get the release of value that customers will come to expect.
Right.
And that puts some of the legacy players in a tough spot. If you have hundreds of thousands of customers, paying companies, tens of millions of active users on your platform, and you already have behind the scenes, you already have multiple data sources in your architecture, multiple workflow engines in your architecture, multiple analytics and UI interfaces in your architecture. And now to go buy more and try to reconcile that, at some point there's going to be a price to be paid for that legacy debt of tech and that acquisition strategy. And I think some will get through it and figure it out and make the hard decisions to go through a bit of a reset, and others may struggle for a while.
All right, I want to change gears a little bit because I am a sales nerd and started in sales early on in my career. But I'm really curious on your take of like where sales is going to go. And I always kind of go to that front end, like reaching out cold to a customer. What do you think that's going to like look like in the future? I know it feels like we're going more towards a marketing kind of world where, customers can go on and find out about your products in depth and come to you with their problems. But I think we'll always be, as long as humans are involved, we'll always be looking for ways to like do the reach out and kind of disruption, if it's email or text message or LinkedIn message, or like what does the front end of sales specifically look like in the future, do you think?
I think that the front end of the process will go through a few changes. It's already started. One, I would expect outreach, regardless of the channel for which it occurs, communication channel for which it occurs, should be more contextualized. When you have the ability to see these signals that are floating around on your website, on G2 Review, just in the wild and other web landscapes, and pull them in and automatically integrate them and come up with an intelligent point of view on research, in a way that would have previously taken humans tens of hours to do. And
Right.
probably even then not as complete in its depth because they wouldn't have had as many of these signals. So, we should have a much richer context for the outreach. And if a seller is driving outreach, regardless of the medium, whether it's a call or an email or a chat, and not leveraging that context in real time, I think you'll see the conversion rates drop even worse than they ever have been, because
Right.
buyers will assume that that's the new norm and they'll expect it. The same way that if you look back, 20 years ago, like the MedPick is a value-based selling process for the sales nerds out there,
Yep.
initially had the business value assessment as a qualification tool to a POV. And that was the way the process was engineered, because there was no internet. You held the keys to your product. If you had a great product and you could execute a well-run process up front, you could run that BVA as a qualification tool in advance of someone getting to try your product.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after the advent of the internet and product-led growth becoming the norm, where the buyer expects to see a demo without friction, they expect to have a product experience prior to going into that level of depth and purchasing. That now becomes the new norm. The same way that I think people will expect rich, contextualized research to be the norm for prep. And it should be, candidly. And I think those, by the way, over the weekend, my co-founder received an inbound cold email, and you could tell that it was a template and somebody didn't connect the dots on the template because it had the variables in the
Yeah, I get those all the time.
in the email. And
I'm because I started my career in that, I'm always nice.
You're right.
I send it back like, hey, you guys might want to fix this. I always feel bad for these people.
Yeah, of course. But it kind of gives us a goalpost, right? So for what I just described, when you have deep research available to you at your fingertips, if you want to consume it, and wipe out all of that manual research that would have taken a dozen hours, and you can have an agent utilize that in context of the targeted contact and execute on your behalf. When that exists, there's really, in 2025, there's no reason to receive an outreach that has what I just described was their experience this weekend, where someone just didn't pay attention. So I think that stuff just goes to the wayside. The velocity that we can get per head should increase dramatically because of the agentic automation and in the prep, in the outreach itself, and the follow-up. So I think the velocity of throughput will increase, the volume will increase per head, and the conversion should be able to increase if you pull that contextualized experience, not just in the prep, but if you pull that through continuously throughout the process, where we will up-level the quality of the research going into every interaction, before every meeting, every follow-up. That needs to be present, and it can and should be. And I think that'll help on the conversion side. And then ultimately, human to human conversations are better than text, than email. And AI powered voice dialing provides the opportunity to run a mass amount of throughput in a way that dialing one number at a time before just didn't
Right.
allow.
Yeah.
So we'll see probably more of a volume increase on dialing. AI native voice dialing is built as a capability into our platform, and so we're not the only ones doing it, of course. But I think that will increase the volume of outreach as well. Ultimately, I think that PLG still is interesting to see what we can do with PLG as an industry. PLG provides an opportunity. We've done some early analysis, and I think in the PLG funnel and the PLG process, you can inject intelligent automation to increase the contextualized automation that occurs to the tune of about 50 to 70% of those activities in PLG. And so the PLG throws off very very high qualified signals of usage and user intent and friction points, and sometimes those get missed. But if you
Right.
take those at scale and pull that data in and marry it together with other context around activities and signals, you start really starting to become better at anticipating where to inject automation to optimize that more friction-free process of buyer education. And I think there's a lot of gains to be had in that area.
I think that's the future of that is fascinating to me. I'm like just really curious. Part of me goes to the fact of I think here's a simplistic way to say it. Some people don't want advertising on their Instagram, and some people are fine with it. I love the fact that it's curating things that I actually probably want and need. I get tons. I'm sure you do too, as being a CEO. Get tons of unsolicited emails every day and text messages, and I just would love a world where that stuff actually was stuff I really needed and wanted and would help my business versus having to send my I hit B 3 times. I have a prompt that just comes up just a message that I can send back to him like, hey, nice connect, not a good fit for us. Connect with me on LinkedIn. But like to live in a world where actually people have created very sophisticated products that would help my organization and or help me build the products that I'm trying to help, with our mission to help teams. Like I think that's a good future. And that's a future that I want. My one concern is that we'll break our channels of communication using AI before we can get to that point of them actually really intellectually knowing what we need and what we want.
Yeah, maybe. You know, I think. Look, if we look at it a little bit differently, there's probably some conversation similar to this one going on when bulk outreach was introduced to email. But at the end of the day, people still read emails. Now, not as much as SMS or WhatsApp, which those landscapes, those channels start to become potential targets for intelligent communications as well, and an omni-channel approach. But I think people will still communicate. I think the richness of that interaction, the human on the other side, the sell side, being more well prepared and coming with an intelligent point of view, the value hypothesis that resonates to your point about something your business truly needs, really increasing the velocity of time for both sides, the buyer and the seller. Just having a higher hit rate on the time is, I think, going to be valued by sellers and buyers equivalently in the future. And I think the thing we're not talking about here is, we've talked about the top of the funnel, but taking, like, one of the challenges I struggled with as a sales leader for 20 years is you can design a perfect sales process and you can run enablement and teach people how to execute that sales process. When you scale beyond a half a dozen sellers, it's really hard to execute that with precision consistently. As you go from 5 to 20 and 50 and 100 sellers, every certain amount of new sellers requires a new leader. And because we're all human and we bring with us different experiences and
Yeah.
energy on different things and comprehension of different things, you get a varied degree of coaching in pockets of that sales team that you're scaling out. And as you do that, you'll continue to get varied degrees of execution across what you've designed as a sales process. I think one of the benefits is really taking intelligent automation and pointing it at optimizing coaching in real time so that you up level the execution of everybody in the org to that of your top 25% of sellers. In the industry stats are pretty crazy. In 2024, 91% of all B2B orgs missed their numbers, the quotas. And 80% of the revenue that was generated by the top 25% of sellers. That means, you're paying for 75% of your sales team that's only generating 20% of your revenue. Well, having that consistency of execution against the guardrails of best practices, married together with real-time coaching and insights based on the truth around what's happening with automation applied to the whole process, you can up level that bottom 75% to look more like your top 25%. And I think that benefits the organizations that employ these people. It helps close the knowledge gap and execution and makes it consistently scalable with excellence. And that benefits the buyer on the other side. And my hope is that with these improvements that we're talking about, just better execution, better preparation, better focus on the buyer, the human to human part of the selling interaction becomes enjoyable, and you don't mind taking that call. And I hope that's where the change leads in the long run.
I hope so too. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I have so many different questions, but we don't have all day. But I'm going to leave you with one last, most important question. So I hope you're ready for this.
Okay.
It's more of a scenario. And here's the scenario. You are trapped on a desert island the rest of your life. You have food, water. I don't think you have AI, but you have healthcare. You have everything that you possibly need. However, there's one problem. There's no entertainment on the island at all. But luckily for you, an old boombox drifts ashore with unlimited batteries. So now you have this boombox with unlimited batteries, but you can only bring one album to listen to the rest of your life.
Man.
Jason, what album are you going to bring?
There's a lot of great ones out there, and I'm going to date myself when I say this. Well, when I was a kid, man, we had a fundraiser at school for selling cans of popcorn, caramel corn, all these other things. Around the holidays, we were raising money for something. You were talking about a boombox. They had a jam box on there on the prize list.
Oh, really?
Oh man, I wanted that thing so bad. I put that can of the demo package that they give you on my bike, and I rode around to every house I could get to, and all the free time that I had in those 2 weeks. And I became the top seller of that popcorn. And I slightly missed the boombox, but they gave it to me anyway. And I love that.
Oh, really?
And the first cassette tape that I put in it was the Michael Jackson Thriller. And I'd probably have to take that one.
Oh, that's so funny. That was the first cassette tape I had. And when I always do this question, I think of that boombox that we had. And that was the first cassette I had as well. Probably similar age. That's so funny. That's not a bad album. I think you could do well with that album on the desert island the rest of your life. And I love how you brought this full circle back into sales. You've always been selling. Selling.
It's innate in some of us, I guess. What was your album? What's your answer to that question?
I change it all the time, but I think what I come back to most common is probably like Bob Marley. I think it's just the island feel.
Yeah, that's great.
The island feel. But that's a tough question. That's why I ask it. It's a really hard question. I change it every single day, which I wouldn't be able to on the island. So it is what it is.
It's a great question, man.
Jason, thanks for joining me on the show. Again, I could talk to you all afternoon. This is really interesting what you guys are doing, and I'm very bullish and interested to watch where you guys go.
Well, thanks a lot, Jeff. I've appreciated you having me on the show. It's a great time. I too could spend the next hour chatting, but maybe next time. We'll see you, man.